said, you should record that. He says, we want to know for posterity. Franco Gabriele. And I was born on the 27th of April, 1942, in Castellari, Italy, Provincia Frosinone. Well, I never knew my grandfather because he immigrated to the United States in 1922. And he died in 1949, and we never met him. I never met him. He was Angelo Gabriele. That's why my brother's name is Angelo, because of Grandpa. I met Grandma, Mamona. I met her when she came back to Italy in somewhere in 1950s, and I met her for the first time. But mostly we got together with my mother's grandparents. Like we call him Taduch and Mama Vittoria. He used to come back and forth from United States to Italy, and he had four kids. Well, he had a grandpa, and then he was the oldest. Then there was Marietta. Then there was Loredo, Loredo. He died of pneumonia. He was 19 years old. Actually, he would have been Grandma's boyfriend. And when he died, then Grandpa took over. And then they had Cervinia and then Pasquale. Those were all, they all came to the United States. But Dad couldn't come because he was married with kids. So he was out of the family, like, he had his own family. And the immigration system at the time was not good for the Italians because of the war and all that, so he never had a chance to come till 1951. My dad's story was kind of different. It was kind of tough. It was kind of tough over there. Castellari, I still remember vividly the Germans that were in the house because they used to like me and they used to take me everywhere where they went because I was, Clara can tell you that the first night they came, I already spoke German. I didn't want nichts kaputt, I didn't want to die, so they had to be careful.
And how old were you when they first came to the house?
Old.
You were 3 years old.
What, 2 to 3 years old?
Do you remember anything before the war?
No.
The war is your first memory.
Yeah, first memory.
And what do you remember about that?
I remember that they said they killed our next door neighbor. I remember him because that night my mother went to the house to pay the respect and took me with her. And this guy was still lying on the edge of the field, the big bullet hole in his head. Yeah, I remember it. I remember that vividly. It's still in my head. Maybe it was trauma. I don't know.
What did Grandma say? What was she like during that?
My mother, she was. The Germans used her a lot. They liked to clean their uniforms and stuff, And when she was cooking, they would always come around her, like. Sometimes she says she was trying to do it, not to let them know that she was baking bread or stuff like that, because they wanted to give it to the kids, but they would always find out that. And they used to put me on a mule, and we used to go there. Just pick up the water and come and bring it back. And my mother, at night she used to go to the mill for flowers. Because she couldn't do it during the day. They would confiscate everything because everything was on a ration. Yeah, we used to hide like Dad used to hide a lot of the stuff.
How?
Well, they used to put them in the field or they bury it, so that they wouldn't find it.
And how do they hide the animals?
The animals they used to send them in the back of the pasture and leave maybe one in the stall. So They figured that's all we had.
Right.
But our neighbors, that's what they were trying to save when he got killed. And we had another lady that was right our next door neighbor They used to call them the Bears, the Bear family. And she used to, like when the plane used to come to bomb, because our house was bombed 3 times. Yeah, because the German commander was there in our house.
Right.
And she used to go tell her daughter, go get the key, make sure you get the keys. Yeah, because the bomb, they had to wait till they opened the door to get in. She was just...
So how did the Germans decide on staying at your house? Do you
Yeah.
remember them like knocking on the door and saying, "We
Oh
want
yeah,
to
get out, get
get
out.
out"?
This is ours for now.
And so
We
where
used
did you
to-
sleep?
We used to sleep in wherever we had the room. You know, they weren't that bad. They weren't, you know, like they would understand. We were 5 kids at that time, and my mother, because my father was never around, because they were always looking for men, you know, to take it to the front. So
How did your mom and dad communicate? Did they? He
oh
snuck
yeah,
in.
they knew where they were, you know, all the time. They knew where each other were. But then there was another thing happening in our house that they shut down an American. I think it was American, or either American or British. I'm not too sure about that. But anyway, there was 8 airmen that survived the crash.
Near the house.
Yeah, there was about a kilometer and a half from the house.
Do you remember the plane going down? People talking
I
about
don't
it?
remember it, but my dad saw it, and he went by there and he saw it all. So one guy could speak a little bit Italian.
And this was Americans.
They were, yeah,
Were they shot down
they were shut down
by the Germans?
By the German, yeah.
And they survived.
Yeah, well, a couple of them they died right in the plane, but most of them survived. So one actually was even wounded, and they took him along with them. And my dad took him into our house and put him right under the wine cellar. And the German commander was on the second floor of the house. You know, like if they would have found out, they would have killed them. They killed them all.
Totally.
But they were then. See, the Germans used to be in our house, but every so often they had to go to the front in Monte Cassino. Yeah, it was I don't know, 28, 30 kilometers away. Well, anyway, so he put him. He kept him there for 5 days. You know, and he put all the damage on like in front of him, so that the Germans used to go there and get wine. And you know, they never saw him back then there. And after 5 days, they took him out, and they put him across with a barge across the Leary River, and sent him back to the American side of their. And they left my dad. They gave him cigarettes, and those were premium at the time. And after a while, my dad got a notice. No, he went to Rome, because at that time he had to go to Rome for some reason, because they left him a message, and then he got this paper, which this paper is here in Leamington somewhere, which was signed by Dwight D. Eisenhower and R.H. Alexander. They were the 2 top commanders of the war, because he saved these soldiers, and he couldn't read them in English, so he just stuck them in his pocket, and well, away he goes. He happened to be in Rome, and he went by the American embassy, and he remembered he had that piece of paper, so he walked in to find out what it was. He said the guy jumped out of his chair when he saw that, because only 7 of those awards were given out throughout the war, and they gave him the opportunity to immigrate anywhere he wanted to go.
Wow.
You know, and that's the reason why we're here, you know, so. And that's part of the war that I remember. And
So the plane crashed. Your our grandpa, and other men, I suppose, around helped these guys get out of the plane. Some of them.
No, there wasn't, just Dad was there.
Just Dad was there.
Just Dad was there.
So-
Actually, when they were coming, about Dad told us when they were coming towards the house, they saw the Nazi flag in our house. And they were ready to shoot him because they thought he was going to bring him to the Germans. But he just told them to calm down, I guess, you know, just to calm down. And, you know, we had that certificate for a long time here. And then we told the story to Dr. Nicholas, because look, what happened was when we came here, Dad didn't have a job. And, we talked to Dr. Nicklin. And Dr. Nicklin was Army doctor here in Canada. And he says, I would like to see that. He had that thing published in the paper, in the Leamington Paper Post. And
So you're we're still in the war. The kids, there's 5 of you.
yeah,
Who-
well, there were 6 of us, and one died.
One died.
Armenia died.
How did Armenia die? What-
She died of,
Well, they thought she died of hunger because you were dying. Remember when?
no. She died of pneumonia.
Yeah, but Mom said her milk wasn't any
Okay,
good.
when I was dying,
Yeah, your
That
milk
was-
wasn't any good for you.
no, I was.
And Mom thinks now, she didn't know it then, but she thought after that's why Armenia died because she wasn't getting enough milk. Because the only reason why you're allowed is because of polenta.
Yeah, polenta, yeah.
What
No.
happened?
That's
Okay,
How
what
old were you?
happened was that she was, my mom was sending Clara upstairs all the time to see if I was still breathing.
How
You
old
know,
were you?
6 months
Oh,
old.
maybe, not
6.
even, no, you were a baby because
Yeah,
the doctor gave you 5 days. So Dad said, this is a Mom's story, okay, to me. Mom said, no, Dad said, he's gonna die, he might as well die with a full stomach. So he started
no, he
feeding
says,
him
I wonder what polenta would do to him. He
Well,
says he's
that's
gonna
what-
die anyway.
I don't know.
you know.
Mom said if he's gonna die, he's gonna die, right? So let's feed him. So Dad fed you polenta and you revived.
No, but I was 6 months old. I was 6 months
So,
old,
but that's what she
at
said.
least,
And
at
then
least
she
6
felt
months.
really guilty because she thought that's how Armenia died because her milk wasn't any good for her.
I heard that she died of pneumonia, so I don't know. Well,
Wow,
either
this
way,
is a story
Clara
Mom
knows
told me.
best because
Yeah, I'll talk to
Clara knew her. I never knew
You
her.
never knew her. How old?
No.
Where was she in the order?
13 months old. She
But
But
was
she was
She was
first.
right
She the
after-
oldest.
She was right after Larry.
Larry. Yeah,
And
So
then
it was
Paul.
Larry,
was Clara,
Armenia,
And then
Clara, Larry,
Clara,
Armenia,
Larry.
Armenia,
Armenia,
Armenia.
Paul, John,
John,
me, and her.
and then Angela.
Angela, Vic, and Della was the only Canadian born.
So Angela, you and Angela were born after the war.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was born in 44.
Exactly 2 years apart on the same day.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're back in the war. You remember, why did the Germans like you?
Because I was more sociable. They didn't like Larry.
How come?
They beat the shit out of him because he stole a watch from one of the soldiers.
How
so
old
they-
was he when they did that?
He would have been about 36, about 6, 7 years old. Yeah. And they beat him because they
But
took.
Mom always said the Germans were better than the Americans. The Americans were
Yeah.
pigs.
Yeah,
The Germans treated the women better.
we had.
The Americans were pigs.
And the Germans treated the women a little bit better.
Well, the Germans had a philosophy that, it was a strict order. They had to pay for everything they took from the people, and they had to treat the civilians with respect. That was the two things that they said the Germans had.
Yeah.
We had Foster-Sniger, what it called. They were paratroopers, German paratroopers. They were in our area, so they were more or less better educated because this was a specialty soldier. And we had the Totenkopf, which were they had a skull for their emblem. They were tough. They were really the Nazi troop party, but they didn't have that many of them. Mostly were paratroopers.
And they stayed at your house or around the house? They stayed.
They stayed at every house.
They stayed at every house.
Every
They
house
just
in the
kicked out the
neighborhood.
locals and said, "I live here now."
Yeah.
And you just camped out on your own lawn or something? Like you
No,
just
no.
sort of-
They give us room. They give us the kitchen.
Right.
They give
Mom
us
said
the
she cooked for them.
yeah. They
Right.
give us the cantina. Mama used to wash their clothes.
Clothes and
Yeah,
cooked for them. That's why they were really. What was your first cigarette? When you were-
yeah. I was 20 months old. I had my first cigarette. The German told to give it to me.
When you were 20 months old?
Yeah. I had the first
God, eh?
smoke. I had the first smoke.
Mom told me that one.
Oh,
Geez, no wonder they liked him.
I heard
They gave him cigarettes and he smoked at 20 months old.
How did your mom keep the kids together and not panicked and not scared all the time?
Well, that's the way it was.
Did she have to
Yeah.
talk to you and tell you to calm down, or
Yeah. Well, we really didn't understand what was going on. You know, we didn't understand that they were killing each other.
You
We
could
knew
hear
that-
it though.
Huh?
Could you hear the war?
Oh, you could hear. I remember the night that they broke the front of the casino. You couldn't see the sun of the waves after waves, and with the bombers were going into the casino to bomb casino out.
You could watch it
Yeah, you could watch it. Yeah,
like a TV show.
yeah. No, you had to watch yourself because I got a book which Joe Quattrini's got now. That's from our town, but it's all written in Italian. That we had because there were a lot of the German front, the command posts were in our area because it was like more safe that they were a little bit away from the front, and they used to come in and bomb us, they bull the shit out of us. And that book, there was Emma Belfort. You know, we used to buy books from her when we used to go to school, and she sent me the book. She said they thought it were that because the bombs were shiny, and they were just looking at it, and all of a sudden they would be exploding, and a lot of people get killed. You know, and she's got it on the book, and we had a town which is called Settefrade. That they had a kind of clinic. The Germans had a clinic. That's where they were. They were a really bunch of bastards. They would draw blood from the population to give it to the soldiers. Some they would just draw the whole thing and kill them to save one of their soldiers. You know, that's one of the things that they did bad. But other than that, when they were going around picking up animals for slaughter, they were bad too. If you didn't give it up, you were shot.
That's what happened to your neighbor.
That's what happened to our neighbor.
They wanted his animal.
Yeah, he wanted his animals, and he grabbed the gun. First, the gun, they shot him right through the hand when he grabbed the gun, and then they put him in the thing, and they, with the machine gun, they just machine gunned him. Dead.
How old was he?
He would have been around Dad's age
Yeah,
at the
20s.
time. Dad would have been 1909 to 1943. Well, would it be what, 34 years old?
Yeah, and who would have had kids, and he would have.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, his name was Loredo Perna. And I remember all that. That is still vivid in my mind because Mom went to see the family, and
Lutz?
no, Castal,
Oh, you just said
the other one, right across the road.
Yeah.
And because he was the one who got killed.
Oh, yeah.
So she went to give the condolence, whatever they did, I don't know. But she took me with them, you know, because I was a small one. And she took me with him, and I could see that guy. He was sitting right there by our land, and he had a hole in him like this. I still can remember him.
Yeah, that sticks with your head. Yeah, it does.
Yeah. Well, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So then, do you remember when the war was? I'm good. Maybe some water, but no, don't worry about it.
You want a beer?
No. Do you remember when the war was starting to wrap up, or there was a sense that it was coming to an end?
Well, then when the Germans left, because they tried there for 9 months, trying to take that casino, and they were never able to do it. Then what they did, they decided to surround the mountain and starve them out. But the Germans are gone. They were gone. Like 40,000 Germans, they were sitting up there. They held about 300,000 Allied soldiers for a long time. When they were wrapping up was when the Germans left, and then the front moved up in northern Italy. They went up north, and they left us alone down there. That's when Dad came back home.
Do you remember that? What do you remember about Dad coming back home?
He used to come once in a while, hiding when they were hiding all the time, you know,
Right.
because, and then after that, things got calmed down.
What year would this be about?
45.
45. 1945.
1945, yeah. And then after that, my dad started looking to see if he could immigrate. And
He knew it was over in Italy, like you
yeah,
couldn't
yeah, he
stay.
knew it was over there.
What changed?
Okay, whatever happened there was that he could have come to the United States because her mother was there, her father was there. Well, his father had died. No, he hadn't died yet. And so when he came, the first time he came, Dad came. He went to Schenectady to look at it, and over there was a draft,
Oh,
and there was a Korean War,
oh,
and Larry was just about the age to go.
right.
And he says, "You were not going to do that. He's not going to bring him over there." So he came to Canada, and there he found a sponsor in Toronto.
How did he do that?
Well, he was from Castlevietti, so he was probably knew him, So he sponsored him in here. Actually, it cost my dad at that time $450 to pay for that sponsorship. I mean, that's almost a year's salary at the
That
time.
cost him $450 back then.
Yeah.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
that's a lot of money.
Yeah, and anyway, he had sold the farm in Italy and everything, so he had a little bit of money.
And what were you guys doing at the time?
We were in Italy. We were left. He came here in '51, and we came in '53. For 2 years, we were by
Clara
ourselves.
Larry came in 52.
So,
Yeah,
so
Clara
he
Larry
came in
came 50.
51 by himself.
Yes.
Yeah. Then Larry and Clara came in '52.
52.
And then we came in 53.
Everybody else in 53. So in the 2 years when your dad was here, where were you living?
In the same house.
In the house, but he sold it.
Yeah, but the guy that bought it lives in Schenectady, New York.
Oh, so he just gave them the money for the house. He owned the house, but you got
Yeah,
to stay
and he
there.
let his brother, which was in Italy, and the rest of the family work the land.
Okay.
They had a house, so we never got out of the
And
house.
nobody ever lived in that house since.
After that, nobody. After we left, nobody lived in the house.
I know I saw it a few years
I know,
ago.
We're going in August.
Yeah. Is it still there?
I think so. I don't know.
Still
Because
there.
there
Yeah,
was
still
when I
there.
was there.
Yeah, now it's a business.
Yeah, I was gonna say now it's on the land that's owned by some trucking company.
And
It's still
they're-
there. There's a fence around it.
Yeah,
So
they're
you can't go
selling.
in to see it?
They're
I
selling.
don't know. I snuck in.
They're selling construction.
Yeah,
That's
that's right. But it's still there.
Right.
I just thought when I saw it, I thought there was a fence around it, and I worried that it was because they were going to tear it down.
They were nice people. They would have
They
let
could
you
have.
go. Yeah.
Yeah, they did. They were very nice, but I just kept thinking why are they keeping it?
Yeah. Because in Italy they don't.
Oh no, this is now the heritage.
Yeah.
Oh, it must
they,
be.
They never do though.
That house was built in 1784.
Yeah.
Wow. So back to you're still in Italy. Your dad's in Canada or in the United States. He's going to Canada. He got a sponsor. Then he sends for Loretto and Clara.
Yeah.
They come to Sarnia.
No,
First?
Dad, he moved from Toronto to Sarnia.
Right?
Okay, then to Sarnia, he came to Wheatley.
To
He
Wheatley.
found- yeah,
Why?
That's where he found the house, and with the land, my dad was always
Looking for
the
land.
farmer.
Yeah, he's a
Yeah.
farmer. So he was in Sarnia and then heard about Wheatley
No, there was no work
in Sarnia.
Okay, so what he did was he started coming down this way, and he stopped in Wallaceburg. Wallaceburg, he found a guy from Yugoslavia, but could speak Italian because he was prisoner of war during the First World War in Italy. And he had beets, sugar beets. So my dad, this is a nice little story to put in the book. My dad, made a contract with him. He would get $20 a day for every acre that he would hoe, taking the weeds out and stuff. And he would get paid every day, every night. The water in Wellsburg is all tasted with gas. There's a lot of gas there. And my dad could not stand that water, so he wouldn't drink all day in the sun all day. And at night he used to go and get paid. He'd get the $20. He used to go to the Wallaceburg Hotel. And at that time, beer was 10 cents a glass. He'd put $2 down, and he'd drink 20 glasses of beer. That's how thirsty he was.
Oh my God.
And he from there, he finished. he started coming down this way. Then he met Sionori, and they came down there to find out where they could buy a place. And they stopped at Wheatley. In Wheatley, they bought that house with 25 acres for $9,500.
Your dad had that money? How?
He didn't have the money.
Grandma.
No, he had a little bit of money to put down,
Yeah.
Okay.
and our mortgage was $500 a year.
Jesus.
And when we worked, like, we picked tomatoes, like at the farm, it was 25 acres. Me, Angela, and Frank, pretty well, because the rest of them went to work.
Yeah.
worked on
So
the
you picked
homestead.
tomatoes
10 years old.
to pay the mortgage
Yeah,
at 10 years old.
yeah. We used to, me and John, me and your dad, we used to hold we had pickles for Heinz. We had 10 acres of tomatoes. We used to pick those. And the cucumbers, we had to pick them small because the smaller they were, the better, the more money we made. Oh my God, the work.
It was a lot.
We used to go to school. Before you go to school, you had to take care of it because my dad was raising chicken for the A&P too. We had to make sure that the chicken was fed and all that. Then we go to school, come back, and there was we had to hold the tomatoes, the cucumbers, everything that was in there. See, Dad used to do a lot of the gardening in Italy, and that's why he loved it to do it here.
So how long did you have that farm?
I think 6, 7 years.
And how many kids were there? It was everybody and then
Everybody,
thank you.
let's see, that was born in 54, yeah.
One of these.
You want one, honey?
That was 70 years old.
Yeah, she was born in 54. So
You want a cookie,
we're all
huh,
there.
honey?
No, I don't want that.
First time I couldn't believe that no lady came to the house and bring a baby. Mandela was born. And
She
no
what?
one
Came
born
to
in
the house?
hospital. Huh?
She came to the house to do what?
And in Italy, every time we saw this lady with a black bag, another baby,
Midwife.
she brought another baby. We didn't know anything.
Yeah, we done.
When Mandela came home from the hospital, there's no lady that brought the baby. How did she get that baby? Like, we were all, then, after you figure it out.
So tell me about your first memories of Canada. When you first heard this is where we're going. You were in Italy.
Yeah, and
Do you remember being told we're moving, we're leaving
yeah,
Italy?
the
And how did
first-
you feel?
We didn't know. We were going to America.
We're
you
going to
know?
America.
And that's it. That's all we knew. And then when I saw the boat in Naples, my God, that thing was huge.
So you went from Castellari to Naples. What do you remember about that part?
The guy that came up because just a few people had cars, and this guy had a car, which was stolen from the American during the war, and it was a Dodge. I remember that, and it was a long one. It must have been an officer cars because it was a long car.
And all of you piled in?
All of us piled in.
Do you remember what you packed?
Huh?
What did you have with you?
Oh, not very much.
Mom just brought what do you call those wood, those
Bowels,
No.
bagood.
bagoon, how do you say those?
It was a chest
It was
Chest.
like a chest, like a wood, steel chest. That's
Yeah.
all we got around.
with all the
All
clothes.
and that's it.
And how much money did you have on you?
Oh, not very
I
much.
didn't have any.
No, the money that she had was all sent in from Dad from here,
Yeah.
and we didn't have. Well, she had enough. All the tickets were bought here, I guess. From the, I remember the guy that had the agency. That he brought us all the tickets to go to the boat.
And how did Grandpa arrange to get everybody over at the same time?
Well, no, yeah, when they made an application, because everything was done to them for him by a lawyer,
Yep.
an immigration lawyer. They made the application. We had all to come together, So that was. I don't think that was a problem. But the biggest thing that I remember being in that car, and here, I remember we stopped where Joe Quadrini is. I remember we stopped through there to say goodbye to because that was Mom's best friend. And all of a sudden we're here with this big car, We were going to Naples. Who the hell knew what
Where-
Naples?
Had you been to Naples before?
No,
Are you kidding? We
No,
never
but-
left our
we've been to
house.
Rome. We've been to Rome
To
because
Rome.
we had to go to take a physical before we came over here. The
Right.
whole family had to go to Rome and we got a physical from Canadian doctors.
Canadian doctors.
Yeah, because make sure that we were all healthy to
Right.
come over here.
And that's when you grabbed my dad from the seminary?
No,
No, he
your
was-
dad's not in the passport.
No, I know. I didn't know that. I thought that was
Yeah.
him.
That's a cousin of ours in Italy.
It's so
Yeah.
funny.
Yeah.
Doesn't he look like your dad though?
He
It
does.
looks like it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Let me see.
They would never find the difference.
No, they
No.
never said nothing.
No, yeah,
They ever
I always
find out
assumed
now.
that was my dad.
Yeah.
So where was he? When did he come with you to? Did he come with you to Naples?
No, he was back home. I would say 2-3 months before
Before
we
we
left.
left, yeah.
Yeah. So we knew, like everybody knew.
Everybody knew we were going.
We're
to
going
He didn't
to-
want to come here.
He
You
didn't
didn't?
want to come.
No?
He
No.
wanted to stay in the seminary.
Yeah.
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 He did not want to.
And
fight. He
if
wanted a passport.
actually they looked for a seminary here, but nobody knew anything.
No.
If they would have found out there was one in London,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
that wasn't the order which he was going to be in.
Right.
It was in the order of Don Bosco,
Yeah.
which is
He loved it. He
yeah.
really did.
the one that was at Don Bosco is in Boston. You
Yeah.
know, so we didn't know nothing about
No.
that. So I guess after that he just forgotten about it. They got a job and
Yeah,
went to work.
yeah.
No, we went to school, and then when they was old enough to get a job, we got a job.
Yeah.
That's about it.
So you guys you got in a big car, a Dodge, and drove to Naples,
Yeah.
and then you saw the boat.
Oh, I saw the boat. That boat was huge.
Do you remember it?
Yeah.
Oh my God, I can't forget the boat.
The Independence.
That's one
It was
thing.
the Independence.
Like,
yeah.
how did that all
Yeah, we were all in the same room.
See that joke?
Yeah. And then they brought us beautiful steaks for dinner, and then they put mayonnaise on it.
Oh.
We never saw sauce in our lives. You know, and it was spoiled. Nobody'd eat it. I mean, the food was top of the line, but they
That
just
I wouldn't know.
all sauces and stuff, you know. I had no problem.
You were fine with a
The
seasickness?
only one that didn't have any trouble was Angelo. I don't know about you. if you
No,
were
I
sick.
never had
Okay.
any. I think I threw
And
up
Vic,
once.
And my mom always carried a napkin because she'd be puking and running after Angelo and Vic because they wouldn't sit still. And she'd be puking and Vic.
God. How many days were you on the ocean?
9 days.
90, yeah.
Oh my God.
9
Were you
days.
scared ever?
Huh?
Were you scared? Was there like a storm or was it normal? It was just
No,
like
We had a little
what
bit
year? Like what month?
June,
June.
June. Oh, that's a nice time to cross
Yeah.
the Atlantic.
but we did get one night was a
It
storm.
was stormy, but.
But
we were so
what they
sick.
did, they locked all the windows in the and we knew they were going like this, but
How many people were on that ship?
600-700.
Do you know who's got everything about that ship? Dick.
Really?
From he went to Pier 21. He's got all the names for the boat that was on that boat and all our names and
Yeah,
And where did you land?
New York.
Ellis Island.
In Ellis Island.
Yeah,
So your
New York.
names were
But we got to meet all our aunts and uncles. 'Cause
Yeah, they were
families
waiting
all
for
there,
us. Yeah,
Back on the boat that we ended up in Halifax.
so you dropped off in New York. You went through Ellis Island. You met your family that
Yeah.
was in
I
America.
remember the first time I ever saw my aunt and uncle.
Did you see the Statue of Liberty? You
Mhm.
remember?
oh
all
yeah,
that?
we
Oh,
went
yeah.
right by it. Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
that must have felt good. Do you remember first seeing it?
yeah, we saw it. Yeah,
To me, it was another statue. I didn't know.
Yeah. And then you got off the boat and
I don't know if we got
That-
back on the boat.
no.
Or we got on a train right away.
no. See, Armenia was there. It's Marietta, remember?
That's what I said. Yeah.
Okay,
That's-
they took us to New York and they took us to these candy shops and stuff to get us.
See, that I don't remember.
Yeah,
In the city?
I remember that. Oh, I remember that. She took us, and we saw these big buildings. Oh my God, they were huge
in Manhattan.
in Manhattan.
Yeah.
Yeah. And though after that, we got in. We went on a train,
Just
and we
Halifax.
went and we went to Sarnia. We came to Sarnia.
Oh, I thought he.
No, we came to Sarnia. That's where we landed. Where we found Mr. Balutz. He picked us up with the car and
Oh.
took us home.
I
Yeah,
always
Wheatley.
thought we could land in Halifax. for
No. Our landing ship was the.
So we must have landed in Windsor or something because the train didn't come to Leamington.
No.
Or it went to Wheatley.
We went to Sarnia.
Oh.
In Sarnia, we got picked up. Dad was waiting for us with the Balutz, Emil Balutz.
Mm.
Yeah, I remember.
He picked us up and he took us here to Leamington, to Wheatley.
To
Yeah,
Wheatley.
that one in Halifax.
And when we saw the house in Wheatley, we thought, oh my God, this is beautiful because our house, you know, you saw it,
Mm-mm.
you know, and
Didn't have an indoor bathroom though.
No indoor bathroom.
no indoor, it was outdoor.
It was an
yeah.
out-
Yeah, but they
outhouse?
put one in after.
Yeah,
Then we put him in. And we had, it was a 7-bedroom home.
Yeah.
like an old farmhouse.
Yeah, it's still there, Wheatley.
Oh,
It
yeah,
is?
it's still there.
Do you know the address on
Oh,
Seacliff?
yeah, I could show
No,
you.
no, when you go to Wheatley, when there's a big curve going into Wheatley, that house was right, it's still there.
No,
Yeah.
it's-
Look, do you have the address? I'll drive by on the way home.
I don't know the address,
I
but
don't know that.
you could look it
It's
up.
it was RR3 Wheatley.
Yeah, R3 Wheatley. There was, it was a great big red brick house, but they,
Now they
they
put
got
the
white.
sidings on it.
You come
but
back
as soon
from
as you
the
go to
garage.
Wheatley, like you go, and there's a curb, to the right, there's that big house and there's a red barn. That red barn is still about.
Still, yeah, still there. We used
Take a
to.
ride down there. It's a
We could take a ride and we
Yeah.
can show it to you.
Yeah, you can just.
That was our first home, and when we found out that 25 acres of land.
Mhm.
You must have thought you were rich.
Oh, we thought, we thought, oh my God, how are we going to pay $500 a year mortgage? You know. Then my dad actually, he got a job at Homestead.
How did he get that job?
First Italian to start Homestead.
Yeah, it's first. You know, actually, the Homestead was just what the office is today. You know, and.
The little tiny thing, yeah.
And my dad was the first Italian to work there. And he used to work right alongside all the owners of homesteads. You know, that's how small it was. Then Jake is still, he lives right here.
Yeah, and
The-
the
the-
first
the-
apartment building.
Huh?
First apartment building.
No, he lives at home.
Yeah, at Tiroli's, the very first building.
Yeah, the first building. Yeah, that's the home. We call that the home.
Wow.
Okay. But anyway, he's still there. And he was the H&R
That's the old folks'
homestead
Mhm.
that took care of all of us. And he still remembers the whole
Oh
story.
yeah, you haven't seen him in 10 years. You're the Gabriel Gurley.
Yeah.
Because he was always at our house anyway.
Because he said we never had a hard working family like yours.
Wow.
He said actually we made Homestead.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
So how did you meet him?
how do we met him? Well, he was our. We all worked at Homestead. We all went to work there.
I used to go to my mother's and fillet fish. at
Fillet
12
fish.
years old.
Yeah, piecework. The more you cut, the more they pay you.
Yeah.
You know. Actually, my mother was the top paid
Philip.
filleter over there because she was the fastest, and she used to make about $50 a week. Yeah, but it was a lot of money then.
That was a
Yeah.
lot of money then.
They
Yeah.
used to go to the grocery store with $20. They used to fill the car
Yeah.
with everything.
Yeah. So what were your first impressions of Canada?
At first, I didn't like it.
I didn't like it. I couldn't talk.
We couldn't
They
speak
fun of us.
English, you know. So
They made fun of us. They laughed at us at school.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I want to go back home.
Yeah.
you know.
Do you remember being bullied?
Oh
Like-
yeah, there was.
Like how was that? Would they like call you WAP and
Not only that, yeah. Well, actually, we were bullied by the teacher. Our teacher. My
Was
teacher
that
didn't
the
like
kid?
me at all because her husband was killed in Italy during the war. And I thought, what the hell's that got to do with me?
Yeah.
You know, I was just 3 years old.
yeah.
You know.
You know how they treat, we were treated just like black people at that time.
Yeah.
Like really, like they used to hang, like in New York, Nova Scotia, whatever, they used to hang them, they used to put them in it's fewer, a lot of Italians changed their names because of that,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
you know?
You're
We
right.
were not very well liked.
They're,
And the Portuguese came and we moved up a scale.
yeah. Then when the
Look your
Lebanese
chair
and
closer so I can get you on
Oh.
then the Lebanese and the Portuguese came in.
And you- yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But and you guys picked on the Lebanese too and the Portuguese.
Yeah.
Like, the
No,
time
we
for them.
didn't because we knew how
How bad it
with
was.
us. No, we,
So you came
Well-
here and you thought, oh, this is going to be our home.
Mhm.
And when was your first instance of like, you don't belong here?
As soon as we got here, you know, because
Because you go to the store at that time, you had to ask for stuff, right? And Grandma would tell us how to say it because she lived in New York.
and they were
When we
all
get to the
wrong.
store, it wasn't the way you said it, so we go home and say, Grandma, that's not how you say it. That's how they say it in America. I don't know what they say in Canada. Because she didn't know how to speak it, but she was telling us she did.
There's a little story about the Paul.
Oh yeah.
You never knew him, okay? But
Oh, he-
Paul, they send him to get cucumber seeds,
oh yeah.
and he goes to the store, and because Grandma told him, she said they call it cucumber.
Yeah.
Cucumber.
Yeah. So he goes there, and he couldn't understand him. So finally, he had an idea. He went to the market, picked up cucumbers, went back over there, broke the cucumber. Said, "I want this."
Yeah. Seeds. Yeah.
The seeds.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
the eggs, one time he went to get eggs, and I was with him. I'll never forget that. Didn't know how to say eggs. Grandma told us a whole different story, and he's going, cook. That's how we got eggs.
Oh my God.
So you know how bad,
Yeah, yeah. And it was all white people here, like all
Oh, yeah.
Christian, French Canadian.
I
Whatever.
remember when Richard met the first black man. He said, "You must eat a lot
Oh
of
my
chocolate."
God. No, Richard asked him. No, he was very nice. Richard asked him, "How come you're so black?" And the guy says, "Honey, I drank so much Coke in my life that I turned this color." But he was nice. He could have.
Yeah,
At
no, it
that
was-
time, black people weren't even allowed to stay limited overnight,
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
which is terrible. But
Yeah,
Mom
yeah,
said
yeah. But you were barely tolerated.
Yeah, barely tolerated.
barely.
Did they accuse you of coming here and taking jobs and all that stuff?
I don't remember that. but we
I
did
remember I
not
got
really.
bullied in school. This guy, I still remember his name is John Lusk. And finally, I got fed up one day. And I said to him, I said, "I know you're going to beat the shit out of me. But are you going to be in a fight?" I told him, I said, "I'll kill you." Somehow I got a good knee and And he left me alone after that. Yeah.
And then when did it start to ease up? When did it start to feel like this is home?
After we started learning the
The
language.
language.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then too, when we came here, okay, John was what, 16? How old was John?
John, when we came here,
We all got back. They
I
all
was 11, John was 13.
13. So we all got back put in grade 1. Do you know how embarrassing that is? Like you got, oh, this is then there's us. Just us. We were the only Italians.
I used to know how to do algebra.
Yeah.
When I came over here, and they put me back in grade 1. And
Yeah,
I used to
grade
teach the
one.
teacher how to do algebra.
Yeah.
Because in Italy, the schools were much, much tougher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I went the first year of high school in Italy.
And that was what, grade 5 or 6?
And no, what happened to me was I was 4 years old. And my father worked at Colleferro, he used to work
Colleferro,
there. Yeah. And so my mother was left alone. So she made a deal with the teacher because he was kind of
A friend.
a friend, He says, "You don't have to pass him, just as long as he can come so I can work." So I used to go at 4 years old. And he said I excelled. At the end, the teacher says, "Well, I feel bad that I can't pass him because he gets all the good grades." So what they did, they put me between 3 teachers in town. This was a school in close to our house, but they sent me the teacher in 3 of them, and they tried to confuse me, and I got 9 out of 10, and they passed me. So I was 10 years old. I went to high school. And I was the smallest one there, but I had 1 year of high school in Italy.
And then,
Then
came
we
here
came
and
here.
you're in grade 1.
Grade 1.
Yeah, and then they put me in grade 1, and I used to tell the teacher that I know how to do algebra,
Yeah.
because I used to fall asleep when they
Yeah.
would put all the fraction and all that. It was just
Bore you.
It
boring.
was A, B, C.
Yeah.
Oh,
So when did you start to? Were other Italians starting to come in? You guys were the first Italians in the area.
There was only 5 families in Leamington.
in Leamington.
Yeah.
Who were they?
The Menas, Panunzios, Mastronardis.
Leone, no, they came.
Yeah, Leone was
Leone,
here.
yeah.
Yeah, Leone was here before us. And the Menas. Yeah.
And then you guys.
Oh, and there was the Vito La Sala. Not La Sala, Vito.
Oh,
He was the shoemaker down here.
just a minute, what's his name? Oh, it would be Josephine Peralta.
But yeah.
He was a Sicilian.
Yeah, Sicilian. There was Sicilian. There was, okay. No, there was another one too, Antonio Gervini.
Cervini.
Okay. There was a Ciugiaro, a bunch of Molizano, and then there was one Sicilian here in the
Yeah.
town. Then my
We all
dad,
got close.
then when we bought the farm, it was on the 8th concession, and my dad started signing contracts with people coming from Italy because they needed a work permit,
Mhm.
and my dad must have signed it. I don't
Half
know.
of Leamington, Dad brought
Half
it.
of Leamington is here because of my dad's contracts.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he was sponsored them to come here, and then they took off.
And then they would take off and they could get their own job, and
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
And there's a lot about Dad sponsoring all these people here for work permits. So I said the half of Leamington is here because of him, but you know, like the Iacobellis, now they own Sunbright, the Primo, and all that Unico. They lived in our house in Wheatley because they couldn't find job anywhere. My dad actually went to visit his brother in Windsor. He found 10, 11 people in one room.
Because there was 18 of us in Wheatley.
Yeah, in one room. So my dad says, "Would you want to move? I got a place I can put you up." He says, "Maybe we can get you a job at Homestead," and that's where they all went to work.
Started, yeah.
Then finally, one by one, they went to Heinz to work at Heinz.
No, Henry went to Pyramids.
Yeah, and then Henry bought his own place. And, you know, but Henry, I got
No, Henry didn't live with us. It was
No.
Vittoria and Anuccia and Angelo.
yeah.
Yeah, that's
But
what
the Henry never forgotten.
no,
You know when
we're still best friends to this day.
Yeah, when
Absolutely,
when Frankie came out of college,
Mhm.
he always gave him a summer job.
Yeah.
And when he graduated, he wanted him in his lab.
Yeah.
And he told me, he says, "Oh, you don't have to worry about it. Just come to my place." He says, "You guys did so much for our family. We can do something for you."
Well,
You know,
They're
no, they
really
were.
good. They're still, like I said, she's still my best friend.
My dad and my mother were very well liked by the
oh, I
Italians
remember
here.
that. Yeah,
Lena,
Yeah.
getting
yeah. Their
better.
house was always full.
Yeah, yeah. Well, my grandma's restaurant was
I
always
haven't
at the
seen her
house
for a
there.
while. I
Yeah.
have to call her.
So when did it start to feel like you guys belonged? You got the language, jobs.
Well, you know, after you start getting a paycheck every week, and then, you know, you start kind of like. Then when kids started settling, they get married and they have their own children. They're born here, so there's no way.
Yeah. And so when did you leave Wheatley and live in town on Ivan Street?
About 6
58?
years, 53, 58,
Yeah, because
50,
Paul died in 58,
59.
and we were
No, he died in 59.
58. 58.
Yeah,
58 kasama kayong
I mean, we were living in Leamington already.
Yeah.
So, about 5 years.
About 5
maybe
years.
4. Because,
Why did you leave the farm?
Well, what do? We sold that farm.
Yeah, we sold the farm, yeah.
And we sold it, I think, was $16,000. We paid $9,000. We sold it for $16,000.
Because Mom wanted to be more.
No,
in
then we went to the farm in the 8th concession. Yeah, we were on the.
So what happened with Paul?
Well, we went hunting.
You went hunting with him,
No, there was Larry.
Larry,
Your dad.
my dad.
No, John wasn't with us.
Yes, he was.
I
No,
think he was.
no.
No.
Yes, he was.
Larry was the only one.
Larry, Ziglian, Carlucci, John, and then they all went hunting.
And Tony the Benedict.
They did them there, but John was there too because Tony and John were the best friends.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I
John
never,
was there too,
I
because
never thought
Because
John.
I
was there.
remember him when he had the nervous breakdown. I went to the hospital. That's all he could talk about, seeing that hole in his stomach,
Yeah,
and that really got.
maybe he
John.
was there. I don't remember him.
Yeah,
I remember.
that's-
What happened? Do you know?
Okay, he went. Well, I remember they went over to Ciglian, and they were going to ask him
And how old was he at the time? How old was everybody?
19.
19.
No,
He was
wasn't
19.
19 yet. He was 18.
18,
No, he was
19.
going to be 19 in March,
Yeah,
And
and he died February 10th.
yeah.
And his funeral, no, he got hurt February 10th. He died on the 12th, and the funeral was the 14th Valentine's Day.
so he was alive for a couple days in the hospital.
A couple days ago.
Yeah,
Was he
couple-
conscious?
Yeah, sometimes. But according to the prognosis that the doctor says, even if he was going to live, he was going to be paralyzed for the rest of his life.
Because John kept saying he had a hole right here.
Yeah. Well, when he
So-
says the gun went like this,
Yeah.
it went off and went here, and then it went through with his leg too.
Yeah.
Another shot went through his leg.
So there was 5 or 6 of them. They went hunting for what?
Rabbits.
Rabbits
Yeah.
in and around here
Yeah.
Was it Wheatley?
No, they were in the ninth concession.
Ninth concession.
in the night concession.
Ninth concession. Yeah.
So they were all walking through the forest, and
But
Through those
Paul-
just fields. They were
Fields?
just fields. Yeah.
Paul was holding the gun.
Yeah.
And how did he shoot? He
I
shot
heard
himself?
so many stories.
I heard so many stories.
I heard so many stories that Larry was going to grab the
Larry
gun from
grabbed the
him.
gun. He was fighting over the gun with him, and that's
Yeah.
what. And then that's what Uncle Pat told me.
Yeah.
And there's another story. Then he tripped, and the rifle fell, and
Yeah, it went off.
I heard that too.
I heard
You
that
know,
too.
so- I think Larry took that to his grave. You know. Yeah. Yeah.
Good.
Because but
But it was an accident. He
No.
was trying to get the gun. That's what I heard.
they kept asking Paul. They kept asking Paul who did it, and he would say, "I did it."
Yeah.
He didn't want to involve anybody else.
He told Mom. I remember Mom telling me this. He told Mom, "Don't believe anything you hear. Just believe what I tell you."
It was an accident.
You know,
That was it.
Didn't want to know.
So Grandma was able to talk to him in the hospital.
yeah,
And then he died.
there's a nurse in town. Well, she's died. I think she died now. Rita. He used to say at night, he used to tell him, "Don't make me die. Don't let me die. Don't let me die." She quit that ward to go to the baby side. He said, "I don't want to see this anymore."
Yeah.
Because this nurse, an old nurse.
Rita, yeah.
Rita, what was it?
And
I'll take him.
Paul was due March the 8th. Okay? He
Your
was
Paul.
born February 10th, the same hour, the same day that Paul got hurt.
Wow. So what do you remember about that
Oh,
day?
shit, he was a good looking man.
We always thought he was going to get killed, but he was going to get killed with the car because he was always going fast.
I was 14
Reckless?
when he died.
He was-
4 years.
He was reckless.
He wasn't reckless, but he sped a lot.
Yeah, he sped a lot.
Yeah, he would get in that car like it was
I
50
was
miles an
14
hour.
years
He would go
old.
80, 90.
So I
Yeah.
remember.
Was he like popular?
Yeah, he was pretty
was.
popular.
Yeah.
And he had a girlfriend,
He did at the time.
but his mother was secret because in those days Italians weren't allowed to date.
So she was Canadian.
No,
she was
Italian.
Italian.
She was Italian.
So when he was in the hospital, he asked for her. The mother wouldn't let her go.
Angela, you know,
Angela Orsini, your
Rossini.
comadre.
Sacomar.
Yeah.
Angela Rossini.
Orsini. Yeah.
Orsini?
Was his girlfriend.
Yeah.
Orsini was his girlfriend.
Yeah. And they won't let him. He kept asking for her, and they won't let her come.
No, that's a shame.
So sad.
Yeah, sad. Yeah.
Do you remember the funeral?
Oh.
Oh yeah. The funeral was the biggest
I can show
funeral
you.
in
Mom's
Leamington,
got
and it was the first Italian that died in Leamington. Yeah,
Shame to survive the war to have that happen.
yeah.
And how did it change Uncle Larry?
Look, Larry was always the odd duck. After that,
he was-
I think he took whatever happened to his grave, and he didn't tell
They
anybody.
did.
Yeah?
And I would never say anything like that.
And we never kind of blamed him or anything.
Yeah.
We just took Paul's word that he said he did it himself.
Yeah. You know, you started to all branch off into you finished high school eventually or left high school and then got your own
I
careers.
went to grade 9.
You only went to
Yeah.
grade 9.
'Cause we
I'm
had
going to
a
interview
farm
you
by the
separately.
house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to interview you separately. Start from Italy on too. I mean, it's fine that you're talking now, but I'll catch up with
My
you.
first job was at Homestead.
At Olmsted?
Yeah.
Doing what?
I was driving lift truck
Right.
over there.
Right.
Then I branched. Then we got into the farming. Reynolds over there. At the, no,
Yeah.
first we bought Kubenik.
Kubenik, yeah.
Kubinek's farm. And that didn't work out because my dad was ready to shoot him. And we said, it's gonna, during the night, he used to go and steal everything out of the greenhouses. We caught him 2-3 times and, so my dad says, yeah, I'm gonna get a gun and shoot him. Before we did that, we left the farm. And that's when they went to live in Ivan Street.
What did you think of Ivan Street when you first moved there? Were
I
you
never lived there because I got married out of Erie Street. So
right?
I lived there after when Mom.
I got married
remember,
in Erie
yeah.
Street too.
Mom needed
Yeah.
help.
Were you at Erie Street? No.
Yeah.
You
we
lived
were in
there?
Erie Street, yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, we lived with mom and dad for what, a year?
After you got
Yeah,
married.
on top, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
about a year we lived over there.
Then we
What did you make of that? I mean, that's the only thing I know, right? Erie Street, or no, Ivan Street was grandma and grandpa.
Yeah,
Yeah,
That's all we knew.
I know.
Yeah, the house has a lot of memories.
Oh, yeah. I used to call
Who all
them-
lived there? Vic, Della. Who would have lived there full time?
Vic and Della would have
Della,
been there.
Because
That's it.
Angel got married too. I heard.
You were there for a
When
while.
did Angel get married? I think Angel will still be there.
Maybe.
Yeah,
Maybe
he was.
you're right.
He did get married in the 58 to 59.
Maybe you're right, yeah.
Angelo.
We got married.
My
And
dad
I
was
was
not
there.
there.
I was-
When my dad lived there until he married my mom, I think, didn't he?
No, your dad didn't.
Yeah, Dad, John
On
lived in.
Ivan Street?
Oh no, not on
No.
Ivan.
No.
I'm talking about Erie Street.
Erie Street, yeah.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
lived on Erie Street.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
We
John
all
was
lived
there.
in Erie Street. But I got married out of Erie Street.
Yep,
And then you got married and lived, because we got married the same year,
yep.
Mm.
6 months apart.
Yeah, and then I
And-
lived on Erie Street.
Yeah, and then Angelo and Vic and Della.
Yeah,
And John, because John didn't get married till he was 25.
yeah. John was there. Was
Yeah,
there
he
for.
was the only one that got married at 24, 25.
Yeah.
Mhm. He's
We all got
older.
married at 18, 19.
Yeah,
I know.
yeah. I guess my dad was waiting for the one.
Ivan Street, we didn't like the house because it was too big for them. But then what they did, they built that apartment on top,
Right.
and that's where you lived.
Oh, you
The
lived-
apartment.
No, I fixed the apartment.
Yeah, you could. Well, whatever.
Well, no, I lived there after Dad died. No,
Mhm.
just before Dad died, because Dad was sick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they needed help because neither one of them drove, so I had to do everything for them. And so back
They
and
didn't
forth-
drive, neither one of them?
No,
Neither one of them.
Mom and Dad never drove.
How did they
I
get
remember
around?
Dad drive for a while, but he drove
But
without
when
a
they were
license.
older, when they were in Canada, when you were little.
We all
Yeah.
did, like
He used to drive us to school, but he had no license.
Oh man,
You know how to drive.
Huh?
he never had a license.
They never had a license.
No,
I never owned a car.
no.
Just walked everywhere.
No, we
Well, no,
we
Larry
did own
got
a car, but
his
Larry
license,
used to
would
drive.
it. And then John got the license, John would drive. Then Frank got the license.
How come they didn't drive?
Ooh, I think Dad was too scared. I
Yeah.
really did. I
Yeah,
really
no.
thought.
But at that time too, you had to speak English to get a
That's
license,
right.
and
Well,
they
no,
couldn't.
at that time, all you had to do was drive your driver to the door.
Yeah.
He didn't
Well,
care
when I
whether
got
you
my
spoke.
chauffeur license, I went. The guy that was a mechanic in town, you had to go to him. So I left. I was working at Homesteads. A lunch hour, I went to see him. I says, I got a driver's test. He says, you drove here? Yeah. I said, okay, go get your license.
So when you moved out in Erie Street, how old were you when you met Lucy? Where did you meet her?
I was 18 years old and she was 17.
Yeah.
And you got married year after.
19 and 18.
Where'd you meet her?
I met her at one of the clubs she was singing.
Singing.
Yeah, with her father. Her father played the accordion, the little
Yeah.
organ.
Yeah. And you just went up to her?
Huh?
You just went up there, talked to her?
He came right there, just brushed right
Yeah, and
in.
then we lived across the
Tried
street
to
from
meet
each other
me.
too.
Yeah, and then we lived across the
We
street. They
lived
lived on
on Erie,
Pulford.
she lived on Pulford, which is
Yeah,
right over
yeah, I
the beer
used to
store
see-
there.
And my mom, when I first got here in 1959, not my mom, my brother Vic, he says, you see that house over there? And that was grandma. He goes, the brother just died. It was just almost a year before.
1958.
58?
Yeah.
He came at 59. He says, you know, the son died. And they told me exactly what happened. It says, you know, they went hunting. And I said, oh my God. Then after I meet him, I thought, oh, your brother? He goes, yeah. He goes, my brother is a big, but
But you see, there's a coincidence. In our family, my mother's brother died at 19. My dad's brother died at 19. And my brother died at 19.
somebody died the last day.
How did the other two die?
The other two, see, Loretta died of pneumonia.
Right.
And Palmerini, he was in the seminary and he died in the seminary of pneumonia. Yeah.
He was Pomeranian. too.
And my mom was dating
Palmerini and Loretta, they both,
Dad's brother.
Yeah.
The one that died, that's my mother was dating.
yeah, he was dating him
And so how did Guido move in?
Well, he was right there.
after he died.
Yeah, he just said, marry
He
me.
died, well,
Yeah,
At that time, it was kind of,
Common.
Well, it was not a written rule, but
I
if
know
your
five.
brother lost your wife, your brother marries it.
Oh, yeah,
Yes.
it was really
Yeah,
pushy.
those days were.
But at that time, it was
Yeah.
even property rights, property things. You
I
know,
didn't have nothing.
they used to get cousins to get married so that the property wouldn't go anywhere.
Yeah, yeah.
You know. Yeah, it's
So
good.
after you met Lucy, how long did it take to get married?
1 year.
1 year.
No, my mom goes,
Mother's pushy.
I'm gonna give you a ring and you get married at, I was some 16 and a half, 17. And
Oh, I couldn't wait.
and then she
I
said,
couldn't date. I couldn't do nothing
and then
anyway.
he
So
come over, we had to sit on the couch like this, mom and dad over there, and me and him right here. You stay for an hour and a half, he goes, I'm leaving. That's the way it was then. We went through a
no,
lot.
we were lucky though. We dated, the four of us. We got out.
When? When after?
Yeah, we used to go
No,
together.
before.
Oh, then we met Gino
Because
and
Gina and
Rita.
I started going together, so that's the only
So
way
we
they
went
would
a little bit with
they would
them,
trust us.
out. We went with them.
And my grandmother, before you guys came along, would say to me and Gino, "Come on, take me to your brothers." And then she'd go to Larry's, and then we'd take off.
Oh,
There's always a way.
you're
Yeah.
a bargain. I mean,
That's so funny.
it was bad. It was a bad time, believe me. You guys were lucky now. It was,
When a lot of people say good old days, nah, I don't want it.
I don't want those
No.
days.
No.
Yeah,
It was hard. You guys sounded like it was hard.
It was hard, but you know what? We were poor, but we never
Poor.
knew it.
Yeah.
We never really
Because
knew it.
you never miss something you don't have.
Exactly. and we were happy. We were
We had no
happy.
money.
So did you ever work in Detroit as well? Somehow
Well, we moved to
How long
Detroit.
did you be
We
here?
lived there for 6 years.
another half hour and that's it. And then I could come to your place.
We lived in Detroit 6 years.
That's right. Where in Detroit?
We lived in Roseville first, and then Livonia.
Livonia. What were you doing there? Driving a truck?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Drove truck all the time.
Yeah.
I drove
No, I
truck for
gotta-
55 years.
Were you a Teamster?
Yeah.
Yeah. So do you remember when Jimmy Hoffa went missing?
Yeah, Jimmy Hoffa was our.
Yeah, I remember you talking about it a long time ago.
I met him 2-3 times.
Really?
Yeah. He's a nice guy.
Do you ever think about what happened to him?
Oh, yeah, they killed him. The
Yeah.
mob killed him.
Yeah.
Oh,
Jimmy Hoffa.
oh, I don't know.
He was our union rep. He was ours, yeah.
Yeah.
We also lived in
You're
Toronto
on the side.
for 4 years.
You did?
Oh, yeah.
Where?
I know
Scarborough.
when we're gonna go.
You know where the Scarborough Hospital is?
Where?
Scarborough Hospital.
Scarborough Hospital, yeah.
Right across the street from there.
Oh, I didn't know that. When?
What?
What year?
19.
Oh, sure.
When did we go to Toronto? 1975 to 78.
Oh, wow. Did you like it?
Yeah, I like the Toronto. I like Toronto.
Yeah.
He was a mover.
Yeah.
That's what I'm gonna do. Put him in the cemetery and I'll take him out of there and took him on a little lake.
But I had a problem there.
I said, I'm gonna move.
I
on
was,
these dogs. Put him in the cemetery.
I was
In the cemetery.
delivering milk. I used to work for Becker's.
Oh, yeah.
They had all these
We moved
convenience
all
stores.
over the place.
One morning I witnessed a murder,
Oh.
and there was a mob murder.
Oh.
So that's when we came back to Leamington, because they told us to get out of there. Because
Well, Detroit or Toronto?
Toronto, when we went in
Then
Toronto.
we're in Detroit. Because my mom was born in the States, was American, so I got her a visa to go there. He wanted to go. Then all of a sudden, he lost his job, so I was going back to Leamington. Yeah.
Yeah. You moved a lot.
You
Yeah,
think,
we moved it quite a bit,
you
yeah.
think I was really in love with him? If it was now,
Yeah.
Remember the school the kids went in Toronto, St. Rosa Lima. Yeah.
Yeah.
poor kids, they went all
No,
over.
it was a good experience for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, they say sometimes that I wish we would stayed in Detroit too.
But I'll tell you what, I never moved without a job. I always had a job. You know, like when we moved to Detroit, I moved without the paper. What 6 months before? I used to work with
Got the paper.
our uncle there. He had a machine shop.
I was American.
Yeah, but before we got the papers, you remember I went there for 2-3 months, Yeah, and I used to work there, and then I found a job there. And when we moved, I had a job. So I always had a job.
So when you think about the whole of your life now, when you reflect on it, like what lasting images do you have of Italy, and what do you feel about being Canadian?
Well, Italy, I still,
Doesn't-
you know, it's your place of birth, so, you know, it's always in your mind. I went back 6 or 7 times. I still love it to go there. Canada, though, is my home.
That would be really
Canada's your
good.
home?
No, it's,
Canada's my home, but no, there's no way I would ever move back or anything like that. You know, this has been our home, and I got all my kids here. They were born here, so I think we've been pretty happy here.
He was young when he came here. That time it was.
But we were in tough times. We grew up in
Oh, yeah,
tough times.
Yeah, yeah.